Simo! What's going on, guys? It's Simo. Today I finally have the opportunity to bring you my Extra Deck Monarch deck profile that I've been playing for quite some time now. I was testing it extensively for the North American WCQ to win that last chance qualifier and qualify for the main event. Didn't end up going that way, but I ended up playing Giant Card, getting top 4 in that, and it was an overall good time. I finally got this build to where I like it, and finally to the point where I decided I wanted to share it with you all. So I'm going to go ahead and go through it and talk about all the little intricacies. Big shout outs to everyone who helped me play test, like Robin, and just all the people that were giving me advice, Gage especially too. Just so many people just giving me so many great tips and just making me look at some things differently that I might not have seen without their help. So couldn't be more grateful for all the support. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So, without further ado, we have 3 copies of Aether, the Heavenly Monarch, probably like the greatest card in this deck. It's just absolutely nuts how good this card is. Like, just being able to do this on your opponent's turn when you're Stormforthing them, like, it needs no explanation. Like, the chorus of angels just sings from above every time you draw this card, because you're like, I'm just like, you feel like a god when you play this card. It's just that good. Next up, 2 copies of Erebus, the Underworld Monarch. I really didn't need the third because the thing about Erebus is that he recycles himself, so there was never an opportunity in testing that came up where I'm like, damn, really wish I had that third Erebus. Never happened. So I was really happy with 2. Erebus is still a great card, don't get me wrong, but it's recyclable, so you don't need more than 2 in my opinion. So, then to supplement that, we have 3 copies of Kuraz, the Light Monarch. I was a fan of 2 Kuraz for the longest time. Then I finally went up to 3, and I would never go back, mainly because it gets your engine going just because you can distribute it, draw a couple cards. But on top of it, too, you really, really, really want it in deck to resolve with Aether. The constant disruption off Aether is really, really important, and being able to turn off your returns is also really key as well. So, again, 3 Kuraz, never going back. When this is an ulti, oh my god, I cannot wait. So, the other thing is, too, I feel like 8 Monarchs is the perfect number, mainly because you don't want to draw too many, but you want to make sure you draw just enough, and also, it's like an 80% upward chance of being able to resolve a Tenacity, which is perfectly fine by me. So I feel like those numbers all worked out perfectly. So we're going to move those off to the side here. Next up, we have 3 copies of Super Quantum Red Layer. Now, a lot of people play 2 of this card, which is totally fine. I just felt like there was never an opportunity where I don't want to open this card. Red Layer is just such a versatile and flexible card, getting the Red Layer loop started as quickly as possible, but being able to also combine this with like a Prime, if you summon this and are able to tribute a Monarch on top of it, you can make a rank 5 in addition to your Monarch play. So it's just such a powerful card. It's so flexible in the fact that you can special summon it or tribute it to trigger a return. I just really felt that 3 was the correct option, and I loved every single moment that I went that route. Now, this is going to be an interesting one. So, I played 3 copies of Edea, the Heavenly Squire, 1 copy of Eidos, and then 1 copy of Mithra for my Squire ratio. Now, for a little bit of background here, I was testing every single engine imaginable. I was trying artifacts, I was trying speedroids, really everything I could think of to see like what made the most sense. And ultimately it came back to the Squires are the best. And the reason is you really, really want to have Edea's recyclability effect to be able to keep recurring your banished spells and traps because it's so key for the longevity of the game. And being able to just keep summoning out and double tributing is just, in terms of the mirror match as well, I felt that this was definitely the correct choice. Now, why this ratio? Well, one of these Edeas is going to get sent off of Brilliant Fusion because I'm playing, Brilliant Fusion, Seraphonite, all that. So really it's like you're only playing like 2 1-in-1 if you kind of take that out of it because ultimately you want to resolve Brilliant Fusion. Then on top of that, if you see this one, that's perfect because then you can summon it, get the Eidos, and then Eidos is going to grab the same one back in Mithra. Then you have this third one, and the third one's flexible because basically it's another one that you can grab to basically start that loop going, or you can send it off of Foolish Burial, a Twin Twister, really anything that you want to be able to just keep recurring cards and mitigating costs. So you always want to see Edea, but you never want to see this fucking guy ever, and that's why I couldn't stand to play more than 1. And I feel like if I played more than 1 and had to resolve this 2 or 3 times, I felt like I wasn't going to be winning anyway. I felt like this was definitely the correct ratio. I loved it. And this, honestly, you want to play over a second one of this because you want to draw this. Like, obviously it's not ideal, but being able to draw this, it's better than drawing this by far. So I love this ratio. If you haven't tried it already, I would highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun, and it worked for me very, very well. The last monster is Garnet. for the Brilliant Fusion. Now, some of you are probably wondering why I'm not playing Dark Witch. Now, Dark Witch is interesting because it does allow you to basically trigger return and get your whole engine going. However, there were so many times in testing where, while that came up, it came up more often where the Dark Witch was just dead in my hand, or I would add it back off of the Lazuli, and it would just sit in my hand doing nothing like the entire game. So it was basically a blank card. So ultimately I decided with the route of, I would rather just minimize on dead cards and just play the engine at its core and basically just be able to play better cards than Dark Witch, because it was just ultimately, and that was just the much far better choice. Garnet actually came up a few times too, just to attack over an Abyss Dweller, which, I mean, that is a thing that he can do, so I mean, hey, he gets some style points for that. But I only drew this like twice out of the entire 3 days. I happened to be in top 4 of Giant card that I did, but, that's how the game goes, and I still agree that that was the correct decision. I did not miss Dark Witch at all. It very seldom came up that I needed to go that route. So that's it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, 3 copies of Pantheism. This needs no explanation. This is the best, one of the best cards in the deck, I should say. 3 copies of Tenacity, 3 copies of Return. I really feel like 3 is important, just because you want to search it off of the Pantheism and make it that you can get to it, get your whole engine going. There's really no need to play 2. I mean, at that point, you might as well just play 1 since you can search it off Tenacity. I don't know. 3, I feel, is the correct option. You need to get everything going with your engine before doing any of the other shenanigans. 3 copies of Stormforth. This is the best card in the game. Holy shit, this card's just stupid. And then 1 copy of Domain. I didn't really miss any other copies. I feel like when I needed Domain, it was easily accessible through a Tenacity or a Pantheism. I can kind of bait my opponent. Like, if I go Stormforth, Domain, you're going to pretty much give me Domain. So, yeah, I didn't miss any more. Domain was just perfect at 1. It was there if I needed it, and it wasn't cloggy in the least. So that's it for that. We'll get those out of the way. Next up, 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion. Obviously, this is basically the win condition. Like, if you resolve this, you have a 90% chance of winning the game. I swear to God, because this card is just so good. And the other copies are never dead, because you can just Karaz them away for new cards in your deck. Keep digging through. So, again, never really had an issue with that. Then for the one-ofs, a really interesting set of one-ofs here. So we had 1 Foolish Burial, 1 1-for-1, 1 Soul Charge, and then 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. So Upstart Goblin's pretty obvious, it's just 39 cards, consistency, things like that. Foolish Burial's so flexible. You can send Erebus to recur, any of your Monarchs. You can send an Edea, which I play 3 of, so you're always going to have one still in deck for the most part. You can send an Eidos if you want to special an Edea, like get that engine going. Really, really flexible card. You can even kind of tandem it with Soul Charge to get something engraved you want to summon back, so that's pretty cool. 1-for-1's kind of interesting, mainly because I would always side it out, but in game 1, if I resolved this, I was so far ahead. Just being able to double tribute because the special summon, it was just so good, but it usually got sided out. So that could, you could argue like that could be a better card. Now, Soul Charge. Soul Charge is a game changer. Holy shit. This card is so fucking good in this deck. I'll showcase a combo at the end of the video, but man, this card can just end games, dude. This card is amazing. So, like I said, I'll showcase that at the end of the video. Last but not least, 3 copies of Prime. You really want 3, again, searchable off of Pantheism. You want to have the 2 cycling Engrave with the 1 in the back row to keep recycling your resources. I would never play 2 of this card. 3 is definitely correct. So that's it for the main deck, 40 cards. Getting into the extra deck, 1 Seraphonite, obvious reasons. It's, again, your win condition. Adrius is good for popping Floodgates, I hear. Durandal is really good for several reasons. Shuffling back Garnet if you draw it is a thing. Also disrupting your opponent's Aether play if you know they have it in the mirror match. Man, Durandal can just put in some work. And just being able to negate stuff is pretty good. Pleiades is basically your best rank 5, but you need 2 lights to go into it, so when you can, you want to. 2 copies of Volcasaurus. Now, Doug Zeef mentioned to me that you can recur this off of Erebus, which I didn't really think about, but you do need to pitch something to do that, and sometimes you don't always have the ability to do so. This came up so much, I'm so happy I went with double Volcasaurus, because this card is just so good. But a little handy tip for those of you watching, if you didn't already know. I'm just a scrub, so I didn't know that. 1 copy of Shark Fortress. Didn't really come up too much, but you need it for the OTKs, so like I would never swap that out for anything. Magna Liger is a beast. Tiras actually never came up ever, I don't think. Like, I wasn't playing Dark Witch, so this probably could have been something else, but yeah, Tears was like, it was there in case I needed it, I guess. Zenmayo, holy shit, speaking of cards I needed, this card is amazing. Like, I'd play 2 Zenmayo maybe next time, because this card's basically like, have an answer for me, or I'm just gonna fuck you up, because anytime you play this, they either have to strike it, they have to do anything they can to stop this, otherwise they just fucking lose. That's it for the rank 5s. We played a Beatrice. Beatrice is really cool because you can send, like, Erebus. It's just another Foolish Burial, which is really neat, and it's also a body, so that's pretty cool. Constellar M7. The M7 loop's pretty good. Basically, you go into these by domaining one of your monarchs, preferably Aether, and then summoning Kuraz and overlaying. But what this is really cool because you can detach the Aether, and then you can add the Aether back to your hand. So basically, that puts them on a clock, because if they don't kill this, you're going to get another plus on your next turn, and you have Aether in hand already. So puts a lot of pressure on them if need be. 1 Gaia Dragon. I was considering playing 2 of this, but it never really came up to play 2. But amazing card nonetheless. And then for the rank 8s, 38 came up like once or twice. And then thanks to Mike Knowles for this, 15 Giant Grinder. Holy shit, this card can end games. This card is so good. So again, I'll go ahead and describe later why Giant Grinder can be so good. It's just, you can easily summon it with Aether, and if your opponent has like multiple Xyz on board, they basically are just gonna fucking lose right then and there. So that's it for the extra deck. We have for the side deck 3 beautiful copies of Effect Veiler. This is for the Monarch Mirror. Good side deck for Pendulum to stop Sorcerer, which is pretty good. There's a lot of good versatility, but mainly the Mirror match is all you care about with this. 3 copies of Maxi. This is for Burning Abyss, PK Fire, all the special summon decks. I didn't want to main any hand traps because I was focusing on consistency and going first as much as possible, so I felt like if I didn't do that, if I was playing hand traps, I'm not focusing on going first, and I'd be getting dead cards in my already, fragile deck, because the deck is notorious for bricking. So I decided when I'm forced to go second in the other games, that's when I'll bring these in, because I know that's when I want to see them. And to round out the monsters, Dark Simorgh for, all of the Demise decks, basically. Majesty's Fiend for water. Oh my god, against water, this card put in so much work. And, Burning Abyss, PK, it'll come in. 1 Vanity's Fiend as well. This is for the Pendulum matchup, things like that. I kind of wanted to play 2 of this, but I would have had to main deck a Twin Twister to play the second, so which I probably should have done. But regardless, that's it for the monsters. 3 Twin Twister. I said I should have mained 1. There wasn't an instance that came up that I wish I mained 1, but kind of just, it is Nats. People are playing crazy shit. I probably should have just, as a safeguard, mained 1, but it didn't come up. And, you always side into this pretty much any other games that aren't game 1. So, 1 Raigeki, because Raigeki is just, a blowout against Domain Monarch and just any giant boards. And 2 copies of Chaos Trap Hole, because going first, in games 2 or game 3, and you're going against Extra Deck Monarch, Domain Monarch, any of that, Chaos Trap Hole can put in so much work and basically just end the game on its own. So, I was really happy with that. So that's really going to do it. Just, I guess, before I go really quick, I guess I'll just showcase kind of why Soul Charge is just, a ridiculous fucking card. So let me see here. I'm just going to quickly grab a couple cards just for example purposes. We're going to need that. We're going to need that. We're going to need that. I grabbed... Oh, no, I didn't. Where's Domain? There's Domain. Okay, cool. So this should be good for now. So to start with, let's say your opening hand is this. I think, oh, not Seraphinite, not that. Let's say that's your opening hand, right? So, and this is only 4 cards. So you can go Brilliant Fusion. I'll just put those down there. So you can go Brilliant Fusion. You can send these 2 to grave, and you can bring out this. So now you can domain your extra normal summon. You can summon the Aether. Aether is going to trigger. You're going to send 2 Monarch spells and traps, which is going to summon you Kuraz. Kuraz is going to trigger. Actually, I want to make sure I get all this in focus here. Kuraz is going to trigger. You can pop Brilliant Fusion. You can even pop Domain at this point if you want. It's not really necessary. And you can draw 2 cards. So I'm just going to, put some blanks down here because you have that as well. Now what you do is you overlay these 2 for Beatrice, which we go like that. Beatrice is going to activate. You're going to send the Aether, and you're going to send an Erebus from deck to grave. And then what you're going to do is, at this point, you should have a Monarch spell and trap in hand. So, say you have a Prime. You can send Prime to trigger Erebus to add the Aether back. And then what you can do is, from here, now this is when you're going to Soul Charge, because now you're going to Soul Charge everything back. So you're going to bring back the Erebus. You're going to bring back... let's see, you're going to bring back that, you're going to bring back this, and you're going to bring all these two here as well. So then what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of these for the Aether. Aether is going to summon out another Aether. If I can find one here somewhere. Let's see. It's in here somewhere. I lost my Aethers. Oh, they're in my hand. That's why. Okay, so you're going to have two Aethers. You're going to overlay the Tribute Summon Aether and that for a 38. You can bring your Prime back out of the grave now at this point, banishing one of your spells or traps. You're going to make Durandal with this, and then Aether's going to return to your hands. So basically, that's kind of what you do with Soul Charge turn 1. It's pretty nutty. You can also do a double Volcasaurus Giant Grinder as well. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Couldn't be happier to bring this to you, and we'll see you next time. See you, man!